Why your inner child is making you emotionally dependent. Everyone says heal your inner child. But what if that's why your boundaries keep collapsing? What if the very tool that should build resilience is training you to outsource your feelings, your plans, your life? Here's the simple truth. Inner child work can heal, or it can hijack. I'll show you the difference. Healthy integration versus emotional dependence, wearing a wellness halo. We'll define exactly what inner child meant in therapy, where it got distorted online, and the one shift that ends the dependence loop. Remember this detail. It matters. Compassion without standards turns into permission to stay stuck. Definitions that actually help. Okay, so basically, inner child didn't start as a brand. It started as a shorthand in psychotherapy to describe childlike ego states we all carry. In Transactional Analysis, Eric Berne mapped 3 ego states inside each of us. Parent, adult, child. Child is the part that feels, plays, protests, and remembers, both the vulnerable hurts and the spontaneous joy. The adult runs reality testing and planning. The parent carries internalized rules and care. Healthy functioning is integration. Adult in the driver's seat, parent offering guidance, child bringing aliveness. Think of it like a team. The child supplies emotion and energy. The adult sets direction. The parent sets limits and care. The simple version is, all 3 voices get heard, one voice decides. Here's the weird part. Online, inner child often gets treated like the sovereign self, not a state. That's where trouble starts. When a temporary child state becomes your identity, standards drop, and life gets outsourced to feelings. There are 2 key child states therapists often name. First, the vulnerable child, the tender, hurt part that needs soothing and protection. Second, the adaptive or protective child, the scrappy, clever part that learns strategies, people-pleasing, perfectionism, withdrawal, to survive. Both deserve compassion, but compassion has a job, to help the adult resume leadership. It's not meant to hand the keys to the child. Here's what most people miss. Compassion and permission feel similar in the moment, but lead to opposite outcomes. Compassion says, I see why this is hard. I'll help you do the hard thing. Permission says, because this is hard, you don't have to do it. One builds capacity, the other freezes it. Quick test you can use today. Is this soothing or absolving? Soothe if it helps you regulate enough to act. Breathing, a short walk, a call that grounds you. Absolve if it delays action indefinitely. 2 hours of inner child journaling to avoid a 5-minute email. If the ritual ends with reality contact and movement, it's soothing. If it ends with postponing life, it's absolving. Healthy inner child work aims for integration, not replacement. The goal isn't to live as your child. It's to reparent your child parts so your adult grows stronger. In other words, you're not healing to earn comfort. You're healing to increase capacity. The adult sets standards, keeps agreements, and repairs after misses. The parent provides warmth and boundaries. The child brings signal and spark. When the child runs the show, standards get negotiated by mood. When the adult sits in the seat, feelings get a vote, not a veto. And that distinction changes everything. How inner child work gets hijacked. Here's where it slips. Algorithms love what's soothing, aesthetic, and instantly relatable. Long, uncomfortable skill building, not so clickable. So feeds fill with rituals of comfort, blankets, baths, soft voiceovers. While the unsexy part, like negotiating a boundary at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday, gets almost no airtime. Over time, the vibe becomes the value. Relief is framed as healing, and because relief feels good, we mistake it for growth. Everything clicked when I realized how language fuels this. Trauma terms migrate from the clinic to captions and slowly become identity. I have anxious attachment turns into I am anxiously attached, then into I'm someone who can't handle space. The child's momentary state gets welded to your name tag. Now any discomfort is reinterpreted as evidence of fragility. Proof you should retreat, soothe, and wait until you feel ready. The counterintuitive part is how compassion becomes a get-out-of-standards-free card. Be gentle with yourself is solid until it expands to don't ask anything hard of yourself. That slide is subtle. 1 week you're taking a breather after a trigger. 3 months later, you've lowered your standards for sleep, money, and follow-through, all in the name of not pushing your inner child. The child gets permanent amnesty. The adult gets demoted to Uber driver for emotions. Schedules, sleep, money, and relationships get outsourced to how I feel. If mornings feel tender, you skip the gym. If budgeting feels constricting, you honor your inner child's spontaneity. If a hard conversation feels activating, you cancel and call it self-care. It sounds kind, but it trains your nervous system to pair relief with avoidance. The ritual works short-term. You feel lighter, but the avoidance quietly shrinks your world. Here's what most people miss. Attachment anxieties get reframed as needs others must meet on demand. Instead of, I'm anxious and working my plan, it becomes, if you loved me, you'd text back within 5 minutes. Co-regulation, which is healthy in doses, morphs into dependence. Partners are cast as permanent regulators, not collaborators. The covert contract shows up. If I'm fragile, you must accommodate. It's rarely spoken, but it runs the show. Social platforms reward this framing. Posts that say, you don't have to be strong, outperform posts that say, you can be kind and keep a promise. Influencers model soothing, not standards, because soothing packages well. Brands follow with candles, journals, and retreats. Products that lower arousal, but don't raise capacity. The market sells a feeling. Your life quietly sells off competence. Okay, so basically, this hijack has a predictable arc. First, a trigger drops you into a child state. Second, a soothing ritual lowers your distress. Third, you interpret the relief as a sign to delay action until it feels right. Fourth, avoidance prevents new learning, so the trigger stays loaded. Fifth, because your world narrows, you need more rituals more often. It looks like a wellness routine. Functionally, it's a dependence loop. Here's the weird part. Softness begins to read as depth. Speaking gently, crying openly, and holding space are treated as maturity, even when they're not paired with repair, planning, or follow-through. We confuse vulnerability with capability. Real integration pairs both. The tear and the task, the breath and the boundary. Without the task, vulnerability stalls into performance. A quick micro-story. A client told me, I journaled for 2 hours to honor my inner child instead of sending the invoice. She felt calm that night. 3 weeks later, she was panicked about rent. The ritual worked, at reducing arousal, not at building a life. When we flipped it, 3 grounding minutes, send the invoice, then journal. Her stress dropped and her competence rose. Same tools, different order. Nobody explains this right, but the shift is simple. Soothing is a prelude to standards, not a substitute. That's the hinge that turns compassion from indulgence into integration. And to make this tangible, we need to define emotional dependence precisely, so you can spot it in yourself without shame and change it without theatrics. Emotional dependence defined. Let's name it cleanly. Emotional dependence is when your feelings need an external babysitter. Instead of your adult setting direction and your parent offering care, your nervous system outsources stability to other people, apps, rituals, or timing. The simple version is, I can't settle until something outside me settles me. Why this matters? If relief always arrives from the outside, you never build the inner muscles that hold boundaries, make plans, or repair after missteps. Your life stays governed by other people's responses, and by whether today feels good. That's fragile, even if it looks gentle. What does it look like day to day? Approval seeking shows up as checking faces and feeds before decisions. Reassurance loops sound like, are we okay? 6 times a day. Crisis texting turns minor discomfort into urgent notifications. Meltdown leverage shows up as tears or shutdowns used to steer outcomes. Often unintentionally, but functionally, it works like a lever. The covert contract underneath says, if I'm fragile, you must accommodate. Notice, it's not stated, it's implied. My distress assigns you a job. Here's the weird part. This can feel spiritual. Softness reads as depth. Speaking in therapeutic language, naming triggers, and asking for space or presence can look advanced. But without standards and repair, it's aesthetic maturity. The litmus test. After the soft talk, do behaviors change? Do agreements hold under stress? If not, we're mistaking atmosphere for growth. Okay, so basically, there's a brain reason this sticks. State-dependent learning means the state you're in during practice is the state you'll access during stress. If you only practice calm by stepping away, your brain learns. Relief lives in avoidance. That's negative reinforcement. The relief rewards the retreat, so retreat repeats. Safety seeking becomes the default prediction. Feel threat, find fixer. In other words, your predictive brain is efficient, not wise. It tags whatever lowered arousal last time as the solution. If the solution was your partner's instant reply, you'll crave the ping tomorrow. If it was a ritual that delays action, the ritual grows while your life shrinks. That's how dependence hides inside self-care. Let's make it concrete. Example 1. You feel a wave of anxiety before hitting send on a job application. Dependent pattern. Text 3 friends for pep talks. Scroll for an hour until the sensation dips. Then promise yourself you'll apply when it feels aligned. Result. Temporary relief, 0 reps logged. Independent pattern. 2 minutes of breathing. 1 call to a pre-chosen anchor. Then submit. Relief comes after action, not before. Over time, your brain pairs competence with calm. Clinicians who work with codependency, for example, Dr. Dornelise Snipes, often highlight this external reassurance loop as the engine of dependence, and flipping the sequence as the cure. Example 2. In a relationship, you label, I feel abandoned when you're offline for 2 hours, as a need your partner must meet. Dependence demands constant co-regulation. Integration reframes. I feel that spike. Here's my self-soothing sequence. Here's our agreed check-in window. Feelings get a vote. Agreements get the final say. Here's what most people miss. Dependence isn't about needing people. Secure people need people. Dependence is about needing them to manage the parts you're refusing to train. Co-regulation is healthy when it tapers, because your capacity is rising. It's dependence when the dosage escalates to keep you functional. So the definition, tightened. Emotional dependence is a pattern where external relief controls internal behavior, enforced by reassurance, avoidance, and covert contracts, reinforced by the nervous system's love of immediate relief. Call it what it is, so you can change what it does. The dependence loop. Here's the mechanism that locks it in. A trigger fires, a look, a text delay, a bill, a calendar alert, and your system drops into a child state. That's normal. Next, you reach for a soothing ritual. Journaling, voice notes, scrolling, venting. Distress drops. Relief feels like progress, so you decide to wait until it feels right. That's the quiet pivot into avoidance. Then life narrows. Fewer reps, fewer exposures, fewer chances to learn that you can feel afraid and still act. The loop resets at the next trigger, a little stronger. Behaviorally, this is classic negative reinforcement. You remove discomfort by avoiding the hard action, and the removal teaches your brain. Do that again. The relief is the reward. So the ritual grows teeth. The more it works at lowering arousal, the more it hijacks action. That's why your routines can look healthy and still drain competence. The ritual isn't the problem, the order is. Soothing before standards cements avoidance. Soothing then standards breaks it. Cognitive fusion keeps it spinning. I feel like a scared kid morphs into I am a scared kid. Language hardens around identity. You stop asking, what would my adult do? And start asking, what would make my child feel safe right now? Safety becomes the metric for movement. But here's the twist. Safety grows from movement. Confidence is the residue of action, not a prerequisite for it. There's social reinforcement, too. Partners and friends become regulators. At first, it's co-regulation. They breathe with you, reality check, remind you of the plan. But if action doesn't follow, the support shifts into scaffolding your life. They start managing your triggers, texting faster, shielding you from conflict, taking tasks off your plate. The world rearranges to prevent your discomfort. That feels loving in the short term. Over time, it's a leash, on you and on them. Work mirrors this. You delay a proposal because your inner child needs more space. A teammate covers. Relief hits. The pattern learns. Stall, and someone rescues. The rescuer gets praised for being understanding. You get praised for honoring your needs. The project moves, but your capacity doesn't. Multiply by months, and you've trained a system to accommodate your avoidance. The long-term cost is learned helplessness in a wellness hoodie. You outsource stress tolerance to people and rituals, then call it listening to your body. Your nervous system becomes exquisitely sensitive to micro-threats because it never gets the reps to recalibrate. Your standards quietly drift down to whatever your most anxious day can handle. Life shrinks to fit your least trained state. Neuro-wise, the prediction loop tightens. Your brain forecasts. Hard thing equals overwhelm. Relief equals retreat. Each time you retreat, prediction error drops. Your brain got it right. So it doubles down. The only way to update that model is to act under arousal and survive. Not white-knuckling forever. Brief, graded exposures paired with support. Relief comes after the behavior, teaching your system. We can do hard things and then calm down. Neuroscientists describe this as state-dependent learning. The state you're in when relief arrives becomes the state your brain tags as safe. If relief follows avoidance, your system encodes avoid equals safe. If relief follows action, it encodes act equals safe. That's why the order matters more than the tool. Microstory. A client feared phone calls. The loop was trigger, script, postpone, binge, soothe. We set a cap, 1 minute of breathing, then dial. After each call, soothe 10 minutes. Day 1, she shook. Day 3, her body predicted less doom. Day 10, she could place 5 calls without a spike. Same tools, breathing and support, reordered to reward action, not avoidance. Here's what most people miss. The loop isn't broken by willpower spikes. It's broken by pre-committed standards that survive mood swings. You don't decide in the child state. You execute what the adult already decided. One more twist. Shame accelerates dependence. If you moralize a relapse, you'll chase bigger soothing to numb the shame, which strengthens avoidance. Better to debrief like a pilot. What was the trigger? What was the ritual? Where did avoidance sneak in? What's the next rep? So how do you know you're in the loop? Relief comes before action, supports escalate, standards erode under stress, and your world gets smaller. The fix starts by flipping the order. Soothe just enough to move, act to update prediction, soothe to consolidate. Next, recruit people as spotters, not saviors, short assists, then taper. And remember the identity line that matters. You're the adult who shows up for you, even when a child part is loud. 7 red flags your healing is holding you back. Here's what most people miss. You don't notice dependence from the inside because it feels carrying. So let's self-audit. 7 red flags. If 2 or more hit, your healing might be holding you back. Red flag 1. Your boundaries are always framed as other people's behavior. Listen for this sentence. My boundary is that you don't. That's a rule for them, not a boundary for you. Healthy boundaries are what you'll do under certain conditions. If messages after 10 p.m. continue, I'll mute my phone overnight. If your boundaries rely on others being perfect, you're delegating your nervous system to their choices. Red flag 2. Decisions are delayed until your inner child feels ready. Readiness is a feeling. Decisions are a calendar event. The adult sets a deadline. The child gets comfort on the way. A simple fix, pre-commit decision dates. I choose the therapist by Friday. If the inner child isn't ready, you offer 5 minutes of soothing, then you keep the date. Feelings get a vote, not a veto. Red flag 3. Partners are recruited as permanent co-regulators. Healthy. Occasional co-regulation that tapers as capacity rises. Dependence. A fixed protocol requires constant check-ins, immediate replies, and real-time tracking to keep you functional. Test. Could you tolerate a planned 4-hour window without contact while running your plan? If the answer is always no, you've made their presence your regulator. Red flag 4. Therapy has become a confession booth, not a practice ground. You disclose beautifully, cry well, and leave with insights. Then repeat next week with the same story. Insight without reps is spiritual entertainment. Ask your therapist for behavioral assignments with measurable reps, time caps, and review. If therapy can't be measured between sessions, you're paying for catharsis, not competence. Red flag 5. You use spiritual or therapeutic language to dodge discomfort. Watch for phrases like not aligned, honoring my nervous system, or energetically wrong, when they always show up right before hard tasks, feedback, or accountability. Language becomes camouflage. Swap vibes for verbs. What exact condition would make it aligned? What skill are you training? What's the next observable action? Red flag 6. Progress equals less life exposure, not more. You celebrate saying no, but months later your world is smaller. Fewer social reps, fewer professional risks, fewer honest conversations. Healing should expand your map. More places you can go, more intensity you can ride, more differences you can tolerate. If your life only feels safe in narrower corridors, you're optimizing for avoidance. Red flag 7. Endless processing, no measurable reps. You're journaling, pulling cards, voice noting, and integrating. But your calendar shows 0 difficult calls made, 0 boundaries executed, 0 tasks shipped under discomfort.